Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm just standing outside a dovecot at Ilam Hall, which stands behind us there. This is in the beautiful Staffordshire village of Ilam in the Manifold Valley. You can just hear the waters of the River Manifold down there, which we'll go and have a look at. So I was standing there by that dovecot. This is Ilam Hall. It used to be a lot bigger. There was an older Ilam Hall on the site, which I believe may have been more the era of the church over there, which we're going to have a look at later. But the current Ilam Hall was originally built between 1821 and 1826, and it extended out over there, but unfortunately it was eventually became a hotel, and then in the 1930s a demolition company owned it and they gradually took bits off it, but eventually it was saved, and what was left of it has become a youth hostel, but the building is in the care of the National Trust. So you've got a collaboration of the Youth Hosteling Association and the National Trust, and they have saved what's left of this beautiful 18th century Gothic revival building. You can see the lovely chimneys up there. So what we're going to do, we're not going to go inside as such because I believe there's a wedding on, but we can certainly have a closer look. So this is the front of the building. This is where you'd drive through, and we'll just do one bit. We will go in, we'll just go in this little bit here. You can get an idea of the Gothic interior. Perhaps at a later date we could come back here and we'll do more inside the building. So that's what I'm going to show you. That's all I can show you inside the building. We're now going to go for a walk. We're going to have a look at some of the grounds and some of the landscape at Ilam Hall. So as we come up here, we're going to go through this Gothic arch. I'm going to show you round here. There's some gardens where the original hall once stood. So it really is a bit of a shame that the whole Ilam Hall hasn't survived, but we can be thankful that some of the hall has survived and that we can enjoy it today. So I'm just coming up here. Up here is the National Trust shop and the National Trust's tea rooms, and in there is where people stay, those who come youth hosteling in this area. So this is what is possibly old stables, maybe. In there's quite an interesting visitor centre. That's the shop, and here are the Italianate gardens, and this is where most of the hall once stood. So even though the hall is now no longer with us, at least some of, as I said, it's good that some of it survives. And on the site of the hall, this Italianate garden has been created, which has some lovely balconies. Well, looking at it, I think possibly, I'm not entirely sure, this garden here was probably here, but where I'm walking now is where the hall was. If you look at that, you can see that's kind of, those walls you can see wouldn't have originally been exterior walls, because the rest of the hall would have been here. The other interesting thing about when the hall was built, so was most of the village. It's almost like a Swiss style, what they call a model village, not in the type of model village like Beaconscott, but the model village as in it's a created village. So you know, all built at the same time, which included the house, although the house is Gothic revival style, and the village is more of a Swiss sort of alpine style. And then if we look down there, you can see, so I think probably the edge of the hall was here, and then that was probably a garden, and then there's these Gothic arches. What I thought we'd do is, if we go round the garden a bit, there's something quite exciting around here. Oh, and by the way, while we're up slightly higher, just over there, that hill you can see, the one where the tallest of those trees is, that's Thorpe Cloud. And between Thorpe Cloud and the other hill is Dovedale, which is a very nice place to go. You can follow the River Dove, there's stepping stones, all sorts of caves. It's really exciting. I walked there earlier. I didn't go all the way up Dovedale, but I went as far as the stepping stones and I took some pictures, so I'll put them on, you'll be able to see them. So we're going to leave the gardens and the site of the hall and what's left of the hall behind us, and we're what looks just like a little tower. We're going to see it's not quite what it seems. You go inside and there's some stairs that go down. down to here, we're now standing underneath where we were. So what we'll do, we can carry on going down further, which of course that is what we're going to do. We come out here, get more of an idea of where the hall would have been. So we were standing just up there, that's that little tower we went in there. I believe that would have been gardens. The hall would have probably been more here, and then you can see the grand hall of the hall survives. And if you stay at the youth hostel, then you can probably sit there of an evening and have a beer and read books, perhaps plan your next day's walk. So it's really worth it because there's so much to see in this area. If you do come here and you think you can't do enough in a day, then come here and stay the night. Right, so back in here, we came down those steps. We're going to now carry on further down. It's a bit dark, I know. Down to here. We come out. And we're going to follow this little path down to the river manifold. Looking behind us, you can see where we've come all the way down there. So what looked like a small tower in the garden's actually quite a large tower. So it's going down these steps. There's all sorts of different paths here, lots of different walks you can do. There's some quite nice walks along the river, take you around and back. I think perhaps next year I might come here and do some of them because, you know, there's so much to see, and if I do, I might make videos here in the spring. So what I'll show you, we won't go up there today, but the path carries on right round there. It's quite interesting here, there's actually some springs. Can you see water is just flowing out of nowhere? These springs on the river manifold, it's quite unusual that. So this is the manifold. I know I said I wasn't going to go that way, but I've got so tempted by the look of it, it's made me want to go. So God, look at that, it looks like the path up there has been a bit of a landslide, but yeah, if you look down there, you can see the water's actually bubbling out the ground. So these are further springs on the river manifold, which really is a beautiful river. You may have seen my last video, we were up at Hulme End, the former railway station on the river manifold, and we started to walk along the old Leek and Manifold Railway. Well, in the future I intend to walk the rest of the Leek and Manifold Railway. The Leek and Manifold Railway followed the valley of the river manifold, but didn't actually come along this section of the river manifold. About half a mile, maybe a bit more, 3/4 mile up in that direction, the two rivers join up, the River Dove, the river manifold. So as I said, if you come here, you've got Dovedale and Ilam Hall, the whole park. As I said, it extends that way a long way. There's so much to do, and that's why it's perfect really that it's a youth hostel, because it means you can stay the night and have 2 days of enjoying yourself in this wonderful part of the world. That tree there, I love the colours, the autumn colours of it. Is it yeah, it's a lime tree. The Latin name of a lime tree is Tilia cordata. There's the hall up there. So let's have a look. There's a lovely bridge up here over the river manifold, and there's a weir, so I thought we'll go and see that, and then perhaps we'll walk over and have a look at the church, because the church is quite iconic. So if we have a look here, coming back to the river manifold, we can see the weir. Oh, and as you may have seen in some of my videos at Hartington, I talked about Charles Cotton. Well, if you carry on down the river that way, I also mentioned his friend Isaac Walton. There's a hotel called the Isaac Walton Hotel, so I believe the two of them would have not only fished up at Hartington, but they'd have fished in these rivers, and that is possibly, not entirely sure why that weir was created, to create a pool that they could stock with fish for fishermen to use. And look at all these lovely colours, the autumn colours. One thing I love about autumn, different colours you get on the trees. So there's so many paths here. Could do a lovely walk that way, and indeed that way. The reason I brought you down here was because I wanted to show you the view of the river manifold and the weir, and looking up to Ilam Hall. So if we come down here, I think that's perfect view. You've got the bridge we just walked over, Ilam Hall is up there. You've got the weir, the lovely relaxing sound of water heads off that way where it joins up with the River Dove. We're now going to go back across the village and we're going to go and have a look in the church. It's just starting, I think the sun's just set, so I want to leave here before it gets dark, but I don't want to rush the video because the views when you're driving are so nice that I don't overly want to do it in the dark. So over there is Ilam Village, which I did talk about. It's an Italianate style. I won't take the video that far, but what I will do is I've taken some pictures. There's also quite an iconic Gothic cross in the village of Ilam, so I'll put them on here in the next day or two after you see this video, so keep an eye on the page. There will be more pictures. Now coming here, little dry stone wall. Actually it's not dry stone, it has used cement, although you do get lots of dry stone walls in this area. There's another spring, this one's a well. And then up there is the hall, so we're going to head across here now to Ilam Church, where I'm hoping it's open. It was earlier, and a few years ago I stayed at Ilam Youth Hostel in the hall, and in the night, well I say in the night, it probably wasn't that late, it's probably about 10 o'clock, I thought what should I do? It was pitch black and I thought wouldn't it be fun to go to the church in the pitch black, so it's exactly what I did. But today won't be doing that, but we hopefully will go there now. So what I'm saying is the fact that the church was open at 10 o'clock at night, I'm hoping it'll be open today. So there's Ilam Hall. So as I said, imagine sort of here there'd have been the biggest part of the hall, which unfortunately no longer survives. But now we're going past this monkey puzzle tree. Here is Ilam Church. So let's just hope it's open. What I'll show you from the outside first. Ooh, nearly slipped over then. Right, so to be honest, I'm not entirely sure the year of the church. It could have been built any time, really, but it's got a rather interesting mausoleum on the side. So I thought what I'll do, if I show you the outside of the mausoleum, then I'll take you inside. So you can see the mausoleum. You can see that's been added a lot more recently. Now possibly added about the same time Ilam Hall was built. I'm not entirely sure, but if you do know, you want to comment and tell me, then you're more than welcome to do so. So Ilam Hall over there. We're just coming round now to the front door of the church. Let's hope it's open. It's looking promising. Appears it is open. I'm just going to shut this. It's a bit dark. There's some lights down. I'm going to put them on, but I will turn them off when we go out, so they're not, using electricity for. In fact, it even says that. It says you can switch them on, but please turn them off when you leave. So here we are. This is Ilam Church. Beautiful building. And what we'll do, we'll walk up the nave because it's Remembrance Day today. Although I'm going to probably release this video a bit after Remembrance Day, because I made quite a few. There's this wonderful display of the forces out on the trenches, and there's some poppies for all those people who died for our freedom. So we're going to walk along here. One other thing is worth showing you. I'd love to have a little bit longer to study it, but there appears, you've probably all heard of the Bayeux tapestry. It appears Ilam's got its own version. If you look, it starts there. So this is going back to, I'm not entirely sure, but I can see monks and everything on that picture. And what it does, it runs all around the church. I won't show you every detail of it because I do think it's nice not to quite show you everything, but for people who watch these videos to come back and see some of it for themselves. But if you get to here, it shows the Ilam Hall. I know it's a drawing, but if you look what you see today or what you don't see today, we've basically lost that much there. So that's what it looked like. We've lost that much. It shows the Swiss style model village of Ilam. shows the railway. There was, I like that there, can you see that? It's a train. It's showing how school children went on a school outing on the Leaker Manifold Railway in the 1930s. So it carries on all the way up to modern day. I think that's a really nice piece of artwork. So like I say, I'm not going to show you every detail of it, but if you do come here, do look out for it. But there's one thing, I talked about the what's it called, mausoleum outside. Well, if you look on the wall or on the column, it says Pike Watts Memorial. So let's go and have a look and see what we can find. If we go down here, you can see now we've stepped into the Gothic Revival era, and it's a bit dark, I know, but that is his memorial. And before we go, I'm just going to finish the video in the chancel for coming here. There's some light switches there. So that's looking down the nave of the church, and behind me is the beautiful chancel. So as I said, there's just so much to see in this area. It really is worth coming to see. So I hope you enjoyed this video. So from Ilam Hall, which is in care of the Youth Hostel Association and the National Trust, and this beautiful church from the village of Ilam in the Manifold Valley in the Peak District. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.